All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahawashi, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Yakinakwat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled, Not Every White Person is an Edomite, and Not Every Black Person is an Israelite. Okay, plain title. And I mentioned the other day I want to talk about speckled birds again. So here we are. And so not every white person is an Edomite, and not every black person is an Israelite. Of course, so-called white, so-called black. And, because we have a lot of people, the masses of the world that say, well, they hate white people. They hate white people. They hate white people. They hate white people. They only love black people, white people. And that's not the case, all right? Not every white person is an Edomite, okay? I happen to be white looking, and I'm not an Edomite, all right? There's brothers, and all over the camps, all right, that are white looking, that are Israelites, all right? And there's black people out there that are Hamites. There's black people out there that are Ethiopian. There's black people out there that are, all sorts of different varieties of not Israel, okay? Not Israel, okay? Those Ethiopians, they're not Jakes, right? Some of them might be. Again, going back, not every person is going to be what they look like, okay? You might have an Ethiopian that is a Jake. Now, are all the Ethiopians Jakes? No. The vast majority of them are not, okay? The vast majority of so-called Negroes, all right, and Latinos and Native Americans are, in fact, Israelites, okay? The vast majority of them are, all right, because that's who they really go back to. But not everybody that looks like a so-called Negro or a so-called Latino or a so-called Native American is going to be an Israelite, okay? Our people, all right, going back, that naturally do look that way, yes, they're the Israelites, but there could be, underliers, okay? You might have, here it is, this so-called Negro, all right, and his great-great-great-great-grandfather was a slave owner, all right, white man. He's not an Israelite, all right? He was a slave baby. He was a product of a white man going and raping a black woman, all right? So he's an Edomite. He's an Edomite, okay? Or you might have, some of these Mexicans, so-called over there, where, they go back, and instead of, being intermingled with Native and all that, they just go back to the Spanish colonizers, all right? The conquistadors. Okay, and those were Edomites as well, Spanish Europeans, all right? So they could go back to them, and they could look like, walk and talk like a Mexican and be an Edomite, okay? Or so on and so forth. You might have, and it goes even amongst the tribes. You might have a so-called black man that isn't really a Judite, but in fact, he's a Gadite, all right? He's a Native American. Because we know that the so-called Negroes walked with the so-called Native Americans, okay? So on the Trail of Tears. So you don't think they were getting down, jig, all right, sneaking in, all right, keeping it as Sabbath appropriate as possible, all right. So, yeah, I forgot to open up with that. Shabbat Shalom, all right, we're currently in the new moon. The new Sabbath for this, for the time being until next switch is going to be Sunday evening to Monday evening, all right. So it started tonight at sunset, and this new moon Sabbath will end tomorrow night at sunset, right? So yeah, it's not all about skin color. It's not a skin color thing. All right, are the vast majority of the so-called Negroes Jakes, Israelites? All right, for short, just short for Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israelite. Yes. Are the vast majority of so-called black people Israelites? Yes. Are the vast majority of so-called Latinos Israelites? Yes. Are the vast majority of the so-called Native Americans Israelites? Yes. Are the vast majority of the so-called white man Edomites? Yes. Is every single one of them? No. Okay, so it's not definitive. Not every white person is an Edomite, and not every black person is an Israelite. All right, and this goes for everyone. Not every Chinese-looking person is a Moabite. Not every Indian person looking is an Elamite, and I mean Indian as in India, from India. All right, not all of them are Elamites. Okay, not every Arab-looking person is an Ishmaelite. Okay, not every Russian-looking person is Gog, all right, Edomite. And not every one of those small hats, all right, is in fact an Edomite, all right, and Amalek, all right. There might be some Jake there, all right. There might be, All right, probably pretty rare, but there might be some hidden in the midst, right? So you can't just go off of skin color, man. All right, it's at the end of the day, it's about you are what your father are. You are what your father are. If I can't speak right, you are what your father is. All right, you are what your father is, not are. You are what your father is. Okay, you are what your father is. Okay, and if your father's an Israelite, you're an Israelite. If your father's an Edomite, you're an Edomite. So it don't matter if you got a black mom and a white dad, you're an Edomite. If you got a black mom and an Indian dad, you're an Elamite. If you got a black dad or a white, if you got a God damn it, if you have a black mom, all right, and a Indian dad, all right, you're an Elamite. All right, if you have a black mom and a white dad, all right, Edomite dad, you're an Edomite. Okay, it's whatever your father is. All right, we're going to prove that right now in 1 and 18. And using this, you look at people like Patrick Mahomes. All right, I believe we just talked about this just the other day. And you look at his dad. His dad's dark. All right, dark black man. Okay, and then you wouldn't think, and you'd have to look into that line and look into that line. But even if you can just tell by the way Patrick Mahomes is that he's a Jake. He's an Israelite. Okay, so that's a good way for you brothers and sisters out there that you might. Well, my great-great-grandfather is white. All right, well, do you understand this truth? Do you understand the name Yahweh Shemi Shai? Do you understand the Israelites, who they are, or so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? Do you understand that the Lord himself is a so-called black man, all right, with woolly hair, woolly afroic hair, all right? Do you understand that? And do you criticize that, or do you accept it in all sincerity, all right? And how do you act and how do you behave? Because you might have that great-great-grandfather that's white, but is that all you can trace back? Yeah, we don't know anything past that, but my great-great-grandfather's white. Well, what was his great-great-grandfather, though? You don't know? No, we can't go back that far into the history. Well, his great-great-grandfather must have been some type of Israelite. If you understand this truth, you feel like you're an Israelite, you understand who the true Israelites are, you understand the true name of the Father and the Son, Yahweh Shemi Shai, and you're not critical of them. They don't strike fear into you like, dreadful among the heathen, how it is, right? Oh, I don't like those names. Oh, I don't like those names, right? If they don't do that, and you can call upon those names, Yahweh Shemi Shai, you can repent in the name of Yahweh Shemi Shai, and pray in the name of Yahweh Shemi Shai, and you can trust in the Father and the Son, all right? Then, hey, you're more than likely an Israelite, okay? So, regardless of who you think you go back to, okay? Sometimes you can't trace your DNA all the way back, and you're not supposed to go and get those DNA tests, okay? Because that's just that's nefarious uses, man. They want that Jake DNA, right? But I've tried to use things like ancestry and stuff like that, not DNA, but deep search, and that shit never gets you nothing. Right? So we don't even really know going back past who's who. All right? So it's all stipulation at that point. It could be an Irish guy, all right? Or it could be this Israelite guy. Okay? We don't know who it is. All right? I think it's because of the way we look in the summer. All right? I think it's the Israelite guy. All right, well, the so-called Mexican-looking guy, but I don't think we go back to Issachar. I think we go back to Judah. But again, it's hard to trace your line like that, right? But that's why you have to, go off the spirit, okay? Go off the spirit. If you're either a Jake or you're not, all right, regardless of what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're white-looking or Asian-looking or whatever, all right? Do you understand this truth? There you go. Numbers 1 and 18, it says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls." Now, I'm going to go and do it. I'd really recommend you go in and do it, but every time I just feel guilty every time I tell you to do something and I don't end up doing it because I feel like I should have just got it and stopped being lazy. So, let it be known, that's the only reason I'm getting these anyway, because you could just look it up yourself. But pedigree, all right, the record of descent of an animal showing it to be purebred. And then it goes on to say, right here, the recorded ancestry, especially upper-class ancestry, and Israel's would be upper-class ancestry of a person or family. Now, this goes back to race, okay? Race, okay? You can go look at the ethnicity, race, okay? So your ethnicity, your race, your culture, your heritage, your pedigree, who you are, all right, is declared by the house of your father, okay? Not your mother, all right? Your mother has an important role, but it's not determining lineage. All right, you're not from her bloodline. You're not from her seed line. Okay, if your mom has a big fat ass nose, all right, it's all crooked looking. You might be born with a big fat ass, crooked ass looking nose. Okay, she got some big ass, bushy ass eyebrows. You might have some big ass, bushy ass eyebrows. You got some ears that look like fucking Dumbo. You're gonna flap away. You might have those big ass Dumbo ass looking ears, right? But that doesn't mean you're of her seed line. You're of your father's seed line. Okay? Yeah, of course you're gonna have her traits. If your father's real dark skinned and she's real light skinned, you're probably gonna be not as dark as your father, right? If your father's got afro hair and she's got straight hair, you might have just some in between curly hair, or you might just end up with straight hair. You never know, right? But so you're gonna have some of her traits. That's just how it is with DNA, right? But your father, you're gonna have generally more of your father's traits, usually with how you act. All right, because they've already done studies on the father gives more DNA. All right, if for example, you could have a really healthy mother, but if the father is more prone to heart conditions or diabetes or spinal issues, right, like things like that in the family, you're more likely to have those negative traits from the father or positive traits. All right, if you grow real tall, if your father's real tall but your mom's real short, you're more likely to be real tall, right? So they've already done research on that. I've done a whole deep dive on that. But your bloodline comes from your father, all right? None of your blood is of your mother's blood, okay? They say that, oh, yeah, we got her blood. You got DNA, but it's not bloodline. It's not seed line, okay? You don't go back through her seed line, all right? She's of her father's seed line, all right? And so when you have a kid, it's not her father's seed line being put out. No, she's of her father's seed line, all right? And she can't bring forth her seed line, all right? She doesn't carry a seed line as like that goes. She's of her father's seed line, but she can't bring forth seed. It's the man that does that, okay? So hopefully that's understandable, right? You are what your father is, and that woman's what her father is, okay? And he's what he was, what his father was, and he is what his father was, all right? The females, that's stopgap. That's it, all right? Stops at them, okay? They're their father's bloodline, but they can't continue their father's bloodline on, all right? Her brother would have to do it, all right? So, and when you do things like that, and that happens over and over, and you look at the diaspora, all right, the scattering of Israel, and you go and see Jake been scattered in all these different areas, then, in the lands of Ham and the lands of Esau and these different places, you're going to have it to where you're going to have these Jake babies that are looking like Edomites, these Jake babies that are looking like so-called Asians and Arabs and Indians and all these different types of things when they're not really who you think they are, right? So yeah, it can get a little confusing, right? But that's how it goes, man. It's through your father. It's through your father. And if you don't believe it, cool. We don't care what you believe, right? We have not a single care what you believe or you don't believe. So let's go and get, it goes back to simplicity of men, all right? It goes back to the simplicity of men. It goes back to the simplicity of men and just seeing, with their looking upon outward appearance, all right? And you have a lot of these kids, a lot of these camps are damn near be more like, like IUIC. I'll name drop. IUIC, they're damn near more likely to hang around. I'm not going to say bringing in to a camp because the Lord won't allow that to happen, but they're damn near more likely to hang around a Hamite than they are to hang around a Jake that happens to look more white looking. All right, because they're focusing on blackness. Okay, they're focusing on blackness, black, lickety black. Right, that's what they're focused on. All right, blackness. That's it. So yeah, man. So bear with me, slack you. All right, slack you. Wife was all nervous to get out the car. It's all good. But yeah, man. So it's like they're down with blackness. A lot of these camps are down with blackness. All right, GMS ain't down with blackness. They're down with the Israelites. All right, notably the elect. All right, they ain't down with no 2/3 just because you black. Right. So, and that's how you should be. All right. More camps should be like GMS, but they're not. All right, because they're too busy, doing their own thing, doing their own way, and hating on GMS because GMS has got it right. So, of course, they're going to hate them, all right, because they don't like, well, you think you're better than us? Well, they are better than you in a sense, all right? They're not going to proclaim it, all right, but they are better than you. Yes, someone teaching that you can eat pork, all right, and someone over here, they're teaching it right. Yeah, they're better than you in at least one way, teaching the scriptures, because the scriptures say you can't eat that shit, all right? You're over here, no, the law was done away with. Get out of here, man, you knuckle-dragging ass motherfucker, all right? Over here, low level, man, low vibration having motherfucker, bro. Like, just nasty, all right? Nasty, spiritually vile, okay? Because I want to do what I want to do, right? The law was done away. Was the law done away with, or do you hope the law was done away with so you can keep on doing the shit that you want to keep on doing? That the Bible says you're not supposed to be doing, all right? Man, I sure hope the law's done away with. Because, oh boy, I love catfish. They're dumb, man. Big back ass motherfuckers, too. And coming around Israel. All right? They're just ready to die for what they eat. Okay? Because they want to eat catfish and pork. Right? They want to eat lobster. Right? And clams. And oysters. And octopus. And all these different nasty shit, man. Rabbit. Okay? Well, it tastes good. I don't give a fuck if it tastes good. All right, Lord said don't eat it. He doesn't say, well, don't eat it, but if it do taste good, he doesn't say that. He said don't eat the filthy motherfucker, man. He said don't eat. Well, that's not what he said. Slakia. I don't want to put that in the Lord's mouth. He said don't eat it, right? I said don't eat the filthy motherfucker, right? He said don't eat it. I won't put, harsh language in the Lord's mouth like that, but Slakia. So, yeah. But we're saying don't eat the filthy motherfuckers, right? The Lord said don't eat it. We're saying, we're using the harsh language, right? So don't eat it. Don't eat it. Right? But you're ready to die over it. You're ready to die over a catfish and shrimp cocktail. It's not even good, man. That's poor people shit. That's nasty people shit. Catfish are nasty. They're dirty and unclean. And shrimp, what are you talking about? Shrimps are a luxury. Yeah, who made that a luxury? Those are nasty things. They're fucking, you might as well, is a spider a luxury? You might as well eat a spider. All right? Because shrimp ain't no goddamn luxury. They're nasty, bro. They're nasty. They're nasty. You get those things in droves. They pull those motherfuckers up in nets. All right? They're nasty. And you go and shove those things in your mouth and munch on them. Gross, man. You got to clean the doo-doo out of them. Ugh. Ugh. Disgusting. All right? And you're willing to die over that. Some nasty, cheap, frozen bagged shrimp and some catfish that was sourced from your local nasty-ass lake. That the local kids been, popping each other and throwing their rubbers in that same lake. All right? Nasty. It's dirty. It's mucky. They even say, oh, don't swim in that lake. Oh, don't swim in the lake. But you're going to go and get your food. You're going to go and get the catfish right out of it. They've been feeding all over that nasty shit. And you're going to eat it. It's good food. It's not food. It's not food. Right? You wouldn't eat plastic because it's not food. So this is not food either. Just because you can eat it doesn't mean it's food. You can go and eat. You just go and start munching on some grass. Doesn't mean you should eat it. All right? You can go ahead and start gnawing on some tree bark. Don't mean you should eat it. Right? Have your stomach all messed up and shit. Right? You can eat a lot of things. You can eat anything once. You can go and drink a bottle of Drano if you want. Right? Doesn't mean it's going to be good for you. Doesn't mean that it won't kill you. You could do it, though. You can go and drink it. You can go and eat it. Doesn't mean you won't die from doing it. So, yeah, man. This is 1 Samuel 16:7. But that's Jake. They're too busy, focusing on what they want to do. But anyway, small little tangent. But getting back to, the blackness. They're looking at people, and they see people that look like them, so that's it. Oh, you must be black. All right? Blickety black. All right? One nation under blackness. All right? That's what it is. All right? It's not ISUPK, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. It's Universal School of Universal Practical Blackness. All right? Blackness. It's all about being black. All right? Black. Sicaria was all about being black. IUIC is all about being black. Okay? GMS is most definitely not about being black. All right? It's about being an Israelite. All right? Notably of the 1/3. All right? The elect. Okay? A lot of people don't want that. They want to come black. Because they're black. Been black my whole life. I look black. I dress black. And I'm just going to stick with the blackness. Blackness, black means void of light. All right? That's why we say so-called black. We don't use that term that they put on us. Because that means void of light. Void of light. Are you void of light? Yes, you are. If you're on that stuff, yes, you are. 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Again, the Lord's looking on the inside, all right, on the heart. He's not looking on the outside. He's not, oh, blackness. No, that ain't how the Lord thinks. That's how men think. All right, well, you're black, and I'm black, so we must be brothers. Here, there's this motherfucker's over here. He's from South Sudan. All right, he's over here. Now, the women over in South Sudan are beautiful, right? And some of them are Jake, but a lot of those up in the, West Africa is the big chunk of Africa that's going to have the most Israelites, all right, because they went over to Ghana, right, all these different areas. South Africa is mostly just Edomites, okay, and then you have East and North Africa, which is just Ham, right, just Ham. So, and of course, you're going to have underliers in there. You're going to have some South Africans that are actually Israelites. You're going to have some West Africans that aren't Israelites. You're going to have some North and East Africans that are Israelites. Okay, again, it's not definitive, right? You don't judge off appearance or how they look. You have to weigh it through the spirit, all right, and who they go back to. Because we know Jake been all over, all right? Asia, right? Europe, all right? North America, South America, all right? Everywhere. So, with Jake being everywhere, it's only safe to assume that Israelites are everywhere. Israel was scattered abroad. You don't think they got down in those lands? Most definitely got down. All right, with all those women. All right, Jake loved a wide variety of women. All right, that's one thing about us. We like a wide variety of different types of women. Tall women, small women, big women, skinny women. All right, not too big. All right, not too big, mind you. Some Jake be liking them big, though. All right, brown. All right. Real brown, all right, dark, light, all right, Asian, black, Hispanic, all of them, right? But there are tiers, all right, and, there are tiers, and I'm not going to big up anybody, all right, but I will let you know that white women are most definitely on the bottom, at least in my book. They're nasty, all right, they're not that attractive looking at all. Some of them are okay. Most of them aren't that attractive looking. I'm still on. And most brother agree with you. Black women are the prettiest women. It's just the attitude problem. So I'm on. Like I said, I think black women are the most prettiest women. All right, sweetest women when they can be, but a lot of them don't want to be submissive. They're too busy on their own shit. All right, but when they are submissive, no other woman will be as submissive as a black woman when a black woman is submissive. All right, but that's a rare breed. If you brothers got a sister like that, hey man, you should count your blessings, man. Even the scriptures talk about it. A woman of the Lord, is worth more than fine rubies, right? So yeah, man, because not all of us have happened to been blessed with a woman as good as that, right? That'll be submissive like that. So, John 7:24, it says, "Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." We're supposed to be judging righteous judgment. Okay, we're not supposed to be looking at an appearance. Okay, the same thing with people, giving into rich men. All right, giving into rich men, right? Because the way they look, or the way they walk, or they're very articulate when they talk. That's no. That doesn't mean they're a man of the Lord. Okay, that doesn't mean they're a man of the Lord. There's people out there that walk, talk, and look smooth as hell, dress smooth as hell, and are some fucking demons, man. Some fucking demons. All right. So, again, looks can be deceiving. You ever heard that saying? Looks can be deceiving. So, and it all goes back to the Bible. All right, biblical references. All right, looks can be deceiving with scriptures like this. All right, judge not according to appearance. Don't trust in just because of the way they look. All right, they could look some type of way. It don't matter. All right, same thing with some of these black dudes out here, man. You think they're he's my brother, man. That is an Edomite. All right, you see him constantly. He's on that Trump wagon. All right, constantly talking about politics. All right, he's weird. All right, he don't really like anything. Traditionally so-called black. All right, don't like no collard greens. All right, Can't stand any of it. I hate soul food. I really don't like soul food at all. All right? You can't season his food. All right? You start adding these things up, and you're like, interesting. Try to tell them the truth. Oh, no. All nations can be saved in Jesus Christ. Right? Ugh, hate even saying that name. But yeah, you know, you're like, okay, wait a minute, man. You're losing points over here. Right? Oh, you know, white women are my favorite. I'm not really attracted to black women. I think, you know, they're too big for me. Okay, strike, and you know, that's another strike. All right, you're over here. You don't like collard greens. You don't like any Jake foods. All right, you don't dress well. You can't dance. You over here listen to country music or some weird shit. All right, some country's good. But you're like, I don't know, man. Watching some weird shows. You're like, man, you don't do anything like a Jake. This motherfucker's weird. Probably because he's not a Jake. All right, if he doesn't have the salt, man, he doesn't have the flavor. It's probably because there ain't no flavor to be had. He's not an Israelite, right? Of course, and of course, again, on the same parallel, you might have some weird-ass motherfucker like that really is somehow deep down inside an Israelite. He's just so far astray that he doesn't even know who he is anymore, man. All right? Not that liking collard greens is a requirement of being a Jake, but I'm just saying, if you don't like no traditional food that Jake eats at all, you know, nothing, I don't know. You're over here and you're not seasoning your food. That's not a Jake thing, over here not seasoning your food. All right, and we know Jake food's unhealthy as shit, but you can't say it's not delicious. All right, you shouldn't eat it like that all the time or probably ever. All right, but you can't say it's not good food, delicious food. All right, so you know I don't like any of those things. It's weird to me. I just prefer maybe some spaghetti, some ravioli, a big old glass of milk. They used to be doing that shit. They'd be like drinking a glass of milk with some random shit. Right? They'll just, I don't know, it's weird. Right? They'll just be having a regular dinner and just chug a glass of milk. Some Jake do it too, but I see it the most with Esau. They'll be, here it is, they're eating spaghetti and meatballs. They're over here drinking a glass of milk down. What the fuck are you doing? Drinking a glass of milk with some spaghetti and meatballs. That's some weird shit. Just weird. Right? All right? Not seasoning their food. Here it is. They're drinking a cup of milk. Weird. So Jeremiah 12:9, it's like it's a dove hour, you know, as Apostle Hart calls it. But yeah, Jeremiah 12:9, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. You know what color a speckled bird is? Speckled. Many different colors. Browns and blues and greens and yellows and real dark browns, real light browns, black in parts, purplish, bluish, green in parts, right? All different colors, man, like a rainbow, right? So that's how Israel is, all right? They're not going to just, you know, look black, right? All of them. It says, my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. So yeah, man, you're gonna have Jake that look different. They're not gonna all look like Wesley Snipes, man. All right, they're not gonna all look like Wesley Snipes. That's not how it goes. Okay, they're not gonna be over here looking like Akon. All right, and Akon, I'm not even sure if he's a Jake. I'm pretty sure he's just a Hamite. But yeah, man. Bear with me. It's like the light keeps turning on and off. I'm like, where the fuck is this light coming from? But yeah, man. You can't just go off of color. If you went off of color, you'd be letting a whole bunch of fucking tears in. That's tears. All right, tears. All right, that's really. We'll go ahead and get that. Before I get this. Right here. This is Matthew. Wow, I like that. Wow, I got everything that I needed. Matthew 13 and 24 all the way through 30. Wow. I'm really liking this AI feature. Call all you how about you, man. I'm shy for this. So right at the bottom, Matthew 13 and 24 through 30. It knew everything that it needed to be wow, that's crazy. said, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came, Esau, or one of the other nations, came and sowed tares among the wheat, all right, Israel, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, and appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? Did you plant some type of cheap seed? Why are there tares in it? If the good seed wouldn't have had the tare in it. And it said, Sir, did thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. That's the thing. You know, you have these Edomites that have these so-called black babies, and generation, you know, that black baby might got with a black woman and on, down, and learn the style and the talk and the walk, but there's something still really fucking weird with them. You just can't quite put it on them. And then, you know, they have this little dark-skinned baby, all right, and they've got it back to normal color now, and you don't even realize that that's an Edomite, okay? You don't even realize it because it looks just like a Jake, all right? All right, and without extensive studying, you might not even be able to tell that it's not a Jake, right? So it says, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. So this is what was commanded. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Because again, the wheat's good, but the tare, you can't do nothing with the tare. All right, you can't do nothing with it. So the Lord's going to get rid of them in the end. Right now, they'll be amongst us and all that stuff, but they're not. There's not going to be none of that. All right, there's not going to be in the kingdom. We're going to be pulled out of that. All right, I'm not going to be in this Edomite ass body. All right, this leprous ass body. All right, and you real light skinned brothers, you're not going to be in that light skin ass body. All right, now we vary in color naturally, but if you're real light skin, all right, because you know you got a white mom or something like that. You're not gonna be like the kingdom like that. You're gonna have your skin color stored. All of us are, okay, to our rightful skin tone. All right, dark, melanated. All right, black. All right, as they would call it, black. All right, dark skin. All right, dark skin. And various levels. All right, amongst the tribes, we're not gonna all be dark. All right, very speckled bird. All right, so we're gonna have, but it's not gonna be leprous. Right, you're gonna have. Different shades of brown, varying shades of brown, but it's not going to be no super light, leprous type stuff, right? So 2 Timothy 2 and 19, this is, this is where we're going to close out. Excuse me. 2 Timothy 2 and 19 says, Nevertheless, the foundation of Yahweh standeth sure, having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are his. And let every one that nameth the name of Hamashiach depart from iniquity. All right. Once again, let every one that nameth the name of Hamashiach depart from iniquity. So the Lord knows that are his. It's not, you're not going to, that's another thing. You're not going to get confused. Okay. Again, Lord said at the end, it was a parable. All right. And in this case, the Lord's the husbandman, farmer, if you will. Where, he's going to gather the wheat into his barn, but all the tares are going to be gathered and burned. Okay? If you're an Israelite, you're not going to be accidentally burned. All right? You're going to be gathered as long as you're part of the elect. Okay? He knows who is his. Okay? And you can't comprehend this because, you're mortal, you're man, you're fleshliness. All right? And you only comprehend what you see. You see black, you see brown, you see white. All right? And all these different things. All right, and you're not looking at a spiritual eye, okay? And not every white person is an Edomite, and not every black person is an Israelite, okay? And that goes on and on, like I've said. Not every Asian-looking person is a Moabite or an Ammonite, okay? And not every Arabic-looking person is an Ishmaelite or an Elamite, okay? So you can't go off of skin color, okay? Now, 9 times out of 10, when you see a white person out of the Edomite, yes. 9 times out of 10 when you see a so-called black person other than Israelite, yes. All right, maybe not even 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10 for both, right? But that's not definitive. That's not hard, cold, pressed fact, okay? Because that person, you might see that, yeah, 8 times out of 10, you see that person, you know, and they got the style. Yeah, they are a Jake. All right, but 2 out of 10 times, they're going to be something else. All right, they're going to be something strange, something that ain't, ain't like you know. And you're not, you know, if you don't have this truth, you're not going to be able to pinpoint what that is. You're not going to understand why. Like, why is that? Why is this guy so weird? Why, you know, he's me, but he doesn't act like me. It's because he's not you. It's because he's not you. And you see it time and time again with, you know, Jake trying to, you know, force the, because of blackness, going over there with these Africans, man. All right, thinking, you know, you got IUIC going over those lands of Ham and wondering why they were not instantly accepted with open arms, but with hostility, and said, they don't like you. They don't like your black ass, man. They don't like you over there. Right? They're black too, yeah, but they don't like you. They're not like, I am not like that motherfucker. Fuck those American black son of bitches. Right? You'll hear him say shit like that. I do not like the American black man. Fuck him. Right? Right? We are not the same. You're right. Not the same. All right? You're different. That's why you can't dance right. That's why you can't cook right. That's why you can't sing right. That's why you can't act right. That's why you ain't smart. Because you're dumb as hell, bro. Dumb as hell, man. Right? Let me not get hood. All right, even for a joke. But yeah, so that's, you know, you're not us. You're not us, and we're not you. So no wonder why we're not going to like you and you're not going to like us. Just because you look like us a bit doesn't mean anything. All right, those Spanish people over there in Spain, some of them look a little Latino, and they're even referred to as Latino. They ain't us. All right, they come. Some of them might be, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them come from the conquistadors, colonizers. All right, Spanish, they're European. All right, with dark complexions. Okay, they're Edomites, just different flavor. That's it. So you can't judge based off of skin tone. All right, or that they look like they could be black, or they look like they're Latino. No, you need to try them by their spirits. Really, you know, through the scriptures is the best way to do it. All right, whether they're coming up to camp or on the comment board, and you can tell. The Lord will let you know. There's been people I said, man, this motherfucker's a tear. This guy's a tear. Or he might not even be in a camp situation or an online situation. You might just be getting some gas or doing some groceries, and you see, hello, welcome in. I'm like, this guy's weird. You see him staring you down as you walk. You're like, this guy's really fucking weird. Something about him's weird. You keep going to that same gas station week after week, and you're like, you know what? I think that motherfucker's a tear. He's not right. Something's weird about him, right? He's all friendly with the white folk, but anytime anybody brown comes up in here, he gives them the death stare, like the snake eyes, like Esau does. All right? So you have two things to root out now. Either this dude is a coon, a self-hating coon, all right, or he's a tear. And it can take a little bit to differentiate between the two, because damn, they act very similar. So yeah, man, just know that skin color at the end of the day don't really mean shit on a grand scale. Okay, it don't mean nothing. Okay, because you're gonna have someone that's gonna look like Wesley Snipes, and they'll end up being an Ammonite, all right, which is a so-called Japanese person. You're like, what? That can happen? Yeah, yep, just a Japanese man. All right, and that Negro body. Okay, so that's it, man. Not every white person is an Edomite, and not every black person is an Israelite. That's where we're gonna go ahead and close out. So slack for the folly and the dove hour. Slack you. All right. Lord, what was edifying? Right. Hopefully it brought it to your attention, because I know a lot of it's this blackness, and this truth ain't about blackness. All right, it's about spirituality, which is not blackness. All right, black is void of light. We're trying to be filled with light, okay, not void of it. So again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.